Complete Unknown's encapsulation of the New York folk scene of the 1960s makes it the perfect double feature with a different musical drama by the Coen brothers. The best musician biopic to come along in a while, A Complete Unknown begins with Bob Dylan's arrival in New York City in 1961 and ends with his controversial decision to break out an electric guitar at the Newport Folk Festival, which earned Dylan a comparison to Judas, in 1965. Along the way, the movie perfectly captures a tumultuous time in American history and a radical evolution in American music. A lot of 2025's Best Picture nominees have a perfect pairing for a double feature. As a quintessential American epic about an unscrupulous dreamer ruthlessly chasing his ambitions, There Will Be Blood would make a great double feature with The Brutalist. As a gonzo body horror epic with a tragic underpinning, The Fly would make a great double feature with The Substance. And as a touching, character-driven drama that captures the New York folk scene of the 60s and the struggles of a starving artist, the Coens' Inside Llewyn Davis would make a great double feature with A Complete Unknown. Inside Llewyn Davis is the perfect movie to pair with A Complete Unknown on a double feature. They both capture the 60s folk scene perfectly. Released in 2013, Inside Llewyn Davis is one of the Coens' best movies. Set in 1961, Inside Llewyn Davis follows a week in the life of a down-on-his-luck folk artist, played by Oscar Isaac. Llewyn spends his days scrounging for gigs and his nights crashing on friends' couches. Just like A Complete Unknown, Inside Llewyn Davis perfectly captures the 60s folk scene in New York and the trials and tribulations of a tortured artist. Since it ends with a young Bob Dylan taking the stage, it would perfectly lead into the beginning of A Complete Unknown on a double feature. A Complete Unknown and Inside Llewyn Davis both forego the traditional Hollywood trappings of a plot, they are more of a character study of a starving artist. A Complete Unknown charts a transformative period in the history of the folk genre, while the closest thing Inside Llewyn Davis has to a plot is Llewyn's quest to find his friend's missing cat and return it to them. This plot-light, character-heavy approach allowed the respective filmmakers to dig deep into their subjects and immerse their audience in the historical milieu. A Complete Unknown and Inside Llewyn Davis were both inspired by the same author's work. Elijah Wald influenced both movies. Both A Complete Unknown and Inside Llewyn Davis were influenced by the work of the same author, Elijah Wald. The Coens were inspired to make Inside Llewyn Davis after reading folk singer Dave Van Ronk's posthumously published 2005 memoir, The Mayor of MacDougal Street, which was co-written by Wald. While Llewyn's abrasive, arrogant personality is very different from Van Ronk, the Coens used the book to get a feel for New York in that era, and the community of folk artists performing in the village at the Timea Complete Unknown was more directly based on Wald's work. James Mangold and Jay Cox's script was adapted from Wald's 2015 book Dylan Goes Electric. The book is more of a historical account, providing details on the actual events without digging into the personal stuff. Mangold and Cox did some further research to round out the personalities of their characters, but Wald's book formed the backbone of the narrative. Thanks to Wald's insights, A Complete Unknown and Inside Llewyn Davis are both impressively accurate in their depiction of the folk scene. A Complete Unknown and Inside Llewyn Davis both combine humor and pathos. They are both funny and sad in equal measure. Johnny Cash, Boyd Holbrook, with a cigarette in his mouth gives Bob Dylan a look as he stands in front of parked cars. A Complete Unknown and Inside Llewyn Davis don't just share their historical and cultural setting, they have a similar tone, too. They both combine humor and pathos, providing plenty of laughs without detracting from the drama. Inside Llewyn Davis has some great gags involving a missing cat, a heroin-addicted John Goodman, and a silly space-themed novelty song. But it also digs into the tragedy of the recent death of Llewyn's singing partner and the difficulty of getting his career back on track following that loss. Similarly, A Complete Unknown is a moving drama that touches on emotional relationships, like Dylan's on and off romance with Joan Baez and his mentorship by an ailing Woody Guthrie. But Mangold also imbued the film with a lot of humor. Edward Norton hilariously leans into Pete Seeger's old hat stuffiness in the face of Dylan's artistic revolution, and Boyd Holbrook gives a really funny turn as a drunken Johnny Cash. A Complete Unknown couldn't have made for a better double feature with Inside Llewyn Davis if it was intentionally produced as an official companion piece.